Merchandising, merchandising. Go to teespring.com and make sure you get you a Goods T-shirt. It's where the real money's made on YouTube, not on the AdSense or all the Patreons. We need you to go and buy a shirt. That way we're no longer poor.
We can't quit. The Justice League doesn't quit.
Hi guys, it's Terrence and I'm back with another movie review. This time it's Justice League Apokolips. Now, Justice League Apokolips is actually the final film in the DC animated universe. Now, you're probably saying, there's a DC animated universe? Yes, there is. I didn't know about it either until somebody pointed it out to me that above all the titles, it says DC Animated Universe. Now, it actually consists of like 14 other films, stuff like Son of Batman, Under the Red Hood, the other Justice League films, the Wonder Woman films. All of those actually fall under the DC Animated Universe, starting with the Flashpoint Paradox. So, as great as that film is, who would have thought that that kicked off the whole DC Animated Universe? This film will actually be wrapping that up, at least this version or iteration of the DC Animated Universe. It's not yet said if they're going to continue on, but this will end up this. Now, there are other DC films out there that don't quite fall under this, so those are kind of side stories like your Brave and Bold and all the other Batman and Joker and Harley Quinn and all of those things. Those don't fall under this. This is just those specific sets of movies. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the plot. So the plot of this film is actually about what's taken place before in the other films. Darkseid has attacked Earth multiple times. When you think about Justice League War, or even in the reign of the Superman where Darkseid was behind Cyborg Superman, the Justice League had kind of fed up with it. They're tired of Darkseid taking shots at the Earth. They devise a plan to go to Apokolips to take the fight directly to him and get this over with and done. So after that is completed, or at least on their way there, the movie cuts and then jumps a couple of years, i.e. Endgame, but we'll talk about the MCU comparisons a little bit later on. But the film itself is not really about the actual fight with Apokolips, more along the lines of what happens when you challenge Apokolips and dealing with the aftermath and repercussions that may happen to the Earth and all of the Justice League characters. So that being said, is a great setup to this film, and I don't want to go too far in it because then it starts to spoil too much, but we'll talk about a lot of the aspects of the movies and my likes and my dislikes. So one of the first things that I like about this film is the overall tone. Seeing that this is the final film, that they went a little bit dark, and I know a lot of people with the live action films don't really like the dark tone. This is justified in this film. This movie is all about stakes. This movie is all about repercussions. So you can't do things and then have nothing happen to it or crack jokes. It's really more serious and focused to where like, hey, we need to get this done because we kind of have to save the day because there is no tomorrow. So I like that aspect of it. The action scenes in this film are great because it's not like a G.I. Joe situation where like, hey, we're gonna live to fight another day and we're gonna go on about our business. Every fight, there is a resolution. There, you'll pit off some people against each other, and not everybody's making it out of this film. So that's as close as I'm gonna get to a spoiler to this, but just be prepared when things happen. Think in justice is the best way I can say this. Other things that I like about this film is that the film is more centered around John Constantine. He is the focal point and at the forefront of this film. And to see somebody outside of Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman kind of being in control of a Justice League film I thought was a pretty cool idea. And I know Constantine was at the forefront of Justice League Dark, but to see him in this one, which it actually seems like more of a Justice League film, see him at the front, you're like, oh, that's cool. They put, I want to say the everyman because John Constantine is not the everyman, but at least it's like something that we've already seen before. That also kind of brings in something about John Constantine that is part of the things that I didn't like about the film. So we'll kind of jump over to that, is that they kind of make him OP. He has a spell for everything. Anytime they get into a tight spot, John Constantine goes in his pocket for a spell, which kind of makes me feel like, why didn't you start there? Throw that spell out there. You know what? Why are we even going through this? John, fix this whole thing because you got a spell for everything. Let's just throw it out there and let's be done and let's move on and go home. Let's go eat some tacos or something. But that was the one thing that I was probably like all right, okay, dude. The other thing that I have about this film, and this is more of a nitpick, and it was going back to where I said like, hey, it was an in-game reference there, is that there are some MCU references throughout this film. So much that it kind of pulled me out of the film at moments where I'm like, that's an MCU moment. And I know you guys are thinking it was like, oh, Darkseid versus Thanos and who came first. That's not my biggest issue because I know Darkseid and Thanos are completely different. But the time jump, there's some scenes and way scenes play out or like aspects to scenes where you're like, oh, they got that from Avengers. Oh, they got that from Endgame. Oh, they got that from Incredible Hulk. Or just kind of like, well, we know who you guys are a fan of. And when you guys were writing the storyboards for this, what you guys were watching, that's a good thing, I guess, because it helps sell those scenes. But it does make you, as a fan of the MCU and a fan of DC, where you're kind of like, well, you copied that. It's a very minor nitpick. I don't even know why I went so long in regards to it, but when you see it happen, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's what happened. Other than that, I actually like wholeheartedly enjoyed this film. It wasn't too much that I didn't like about this film. Nothing I can really bring up that I was like, oh, that's like, hey, you need to watch out for this. But the film itself is a good film. Should you see it? If you've seen all of the other DC animated universe films, you're definitely gonna watch this film. You're already invested, and it is definitely worth the watch. If you haven't seen those films, you can't start with this one. You're gonna have to watch those films to get a lot of the backstory that's going on to explain to you why certain things are happening in this film. It's kind of the same problem that the MCU has, to where like you're either a fan or you're not, and if you jump on, you just kind of have to go. And if you want to start with this film, you're just gonna have to accept what they give you and just kind of roll with the punches as the movie goes on forward. So, I've already given my raving endorsement about this film. I wish this was a full spoiler review so I could talk about a lot of the details and things that I really want to get my teeth into. But maybe me and the guys can do that when they get back here to the studio, so that way we can do a full spoiler review, because I'm sure they've seen it by this point. All right, with that being said, if this is the first time that you're on the channel, make sure you go and hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell, so that way you're aware of all the other reviews that we do on the channel, because I'm starting to pick up my pace on this, and you're going to be seeing a lot of things that I've watched over the whole lockdown, and I want to know your thoughts about it as well. So other than that, you guys take care. All right, guys, I've been saying this. I hope you guys are tired, and I hope you already contributed money, but we do have a Patreon, so below you'll see the link. If you guys go to patreon.com/thegoods, please go ahead and, I mean, if you guys do like the show, please donate something. We do have giveaways for donations that we do receive. Make sure you donate something and we get something sent out to you and make the show better.
Question for you, where does the money go? What does the money do?
My pocket.